welcome to our conversation today. I'm Savita. I'm the founder of Success with Savita, entrepreneur, life and business coach. I work with entrepreneurs to help them launch, grow, and scale their businesses while living their best lives. And today, joining me is my guest, Shirley Whing Chow. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. A little bit about Shirley, because she has so many accolades that it would be I would not be doing enough justice if I just said what she does. Shirley, joining me from Hong Kong, is a Reliance ambassador. She's the president for the Women's Wealth Council, a Hong Kong and India Business Council. She's a global speaker. She's a contributing author, coach, and she's also an opera coach, pianist, producer, competition director. And I'm not going to be doing enough justice if I don't ask Shirley to share her journey and her story and her introduction herself. So Shirley, welcome to our conversation today. Welcome to this. Thank you for making the time for me. And over to you. Tell me about your story and let's get started.
Thank you so very much, Savita. I really treasure this opportunity, and being able to speak to another sister in the WICCI or Web Council network is just awesome. A little bit about myself. You were trying to introduce me by my new title or identity, the Resilience Ambassador. That is because my journey, my whole life, really is kind of like the perfect story, or the most quintessential story of a woman. Being born in a rather conservative or male-dominated kind of thinking mindset, right? And so even though I was a total tomboy, I was very vivacious and also very rebellious in my thinking.
Okay.
My parents just thought that, okay, when you grow up, whatever you want to do, good for you, fine with you, but just get married to a good guy and that you'll be covered for the rest of your life. Well, my real story really started when I was 10, when my mother pretty much suddenly passed away due to a battle with diabetes. And in that whole process, I watched how her manic depression really took her life. It really wasn't her sickness, physical sickness, it was her manic depression. And it was kind of played out in many different ways. And now imagine a 10-year-old girl watching all that happen. So what's going to happen to that girl? The loss of a primary care taker itself is traumatic enough. But after that, when there isn't the support to explain and to empathize and to take on that child onto a different journey of healing, yes, that is what set me into or I would say 3-decade-long spiral of self-destruction. So what happened was from the age of 10 to 17, for 7 straight years throughout my entire adolescence, I suffered from PTSD, hypervigilance, autoimmune disease from hell. It was hive outbreak anytime, anywhere, 24/7.
Okay.
And it would be maybe like half of my head would be burned up, swollen, red, embarrassed. I felt like I was cursed. So what happened? I started writing about dying young, because my mother died young. She was 32.
Right.
Hey, and when people talked about how she died young and they lamented over that, I was like, whoa, this is good. They actually really missed her. Her life has actually made a great, little cadence in the world. People remember her because she died young and she was such a beautiful person. So I started fantasizing about all that. But luckily, because she gave me this aspiration to be this beautiful being who expressed myself through music. So that kind of somehow got stuck in my entire being. So I started playing the piano for hours and hours, played a lot of Beethoven to kind of get things out. I was basically not even speaking much at home. And like a lot of, I guess, young people these days, they feel unheard.
Yes.
they feel unseen, misunderstood, right?
Yeah.
Now, nowadays, they have the devices,
Yeah.
they have the obsession of likes or whatever that is, they kind of drown themselves in,
Right.
right? TikTok, all these sensational, sometimes not very positive images.
Yes.
Back then, I had people around me in my high school. I started somehow, I don't know why, I started asking people to play music with me because I was a pianist, right? So I started making chamber music. And I also think that my mother kind of looked after me in another dimension because she sends me to music teachers who, for no reason, no good reason, started calling me at home after school.
Okay.
This is years ago we're talking about. There
Right.
was no cell phone. And teachers would go home after they're done at work. Why would they stay behind? Like around 5, 6 p.m., they would call me, take turn calling me and just chat.
Right.
So all of a sudden, because of all these things, because of music, the healing power of music, because of the social aspect of music making, and also I was on stage a lot.
Right.
And again, I don't know why, maybe it's because my father gave me a lot of vivaciousness and extrovert kind of
Yeah.
wanting to achieve and wanting to be with people and make them laugh. So I
Yeah.
started coaching on stage, English recitation, storytelling. And you know how a lot of high achievers, they drown themselves, they overachieve to
Yes.
cover their pain, to
Yes.
run away from. That's exactly what happened to me. So I spent my whole life doing that.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate. At age 21, 22, my family migrated to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I was already of legal age. I couldn't go with them as a family member. So I went to the best music school I could find for myself at the time. I got myself a scholarship, a full scholarship in a TA, and I went to Cincinnati Conservatory. And after I had a really couple of great years studying accompanying, I got married to
Mm.
Texas to
Mm.
play wife. And
Okay.
it, I mean, looking back, it's just so ridiculous because I remember when I graduated from college, I told all my girlfriends, the last thing I want to do is to be someone else's wife and to be disappointed and to have my heart broken. And I did every one of those things, right? So long story short, I went through a divorce because I wasn't able to be fully myself. I had to be someone else's idea of me.
Okay.
And so both is a blessing looking back, but at the time it almost killed me. I was at the very bottom and I had two misses. Those two misses, if I didn't make those two misses, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
Right.
Now you have to remember. I mean, we have only met like briefly at in Egypt, but a lot of people have told me, oh, when we come across you, you just strike us as such a confident person.
Right.
Well, how can such a strong, confident, and very lucky person even think about going,
Yeah.
to the
Give.
other end of life? How is that possible? So in that whole healing process after my divorce, when I was completely so dysfunctional in every aspect of it, my health was like down the drain again. A female counselor or therapist started again. It's just like my music teachers. She lowered her fees because at the time I was so poor, dirt poor. I wasn't really doing well financially. She lowered her fees to just the bare minimal amount, and she
Mm.
spent an entire year healing me. And so from my mid 30s to my early 40s, I just read like a maniac
Okay.
because I started knowing, wow, childhood trauma is a real curse.
Yes.
But again, looking back, at the time you feel like it's a curse, but it's really a setup. Like one of my buzz lines right now is, there are no setbacks, there are only setups.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I'm going to borrow that from you for sure. That's
And
amazing.
it's I always tell my young students and also my adult amateur performer students, it's kind of like when babies have their teeth come out. right? It's just going to hurt. There
Mm.
is no avoiding it. But
Yeah.
what is the relationship you have with that change, with that discomfort? If we can tweak our relationship, we can remodel our mindset or the verbiage, the language, right? And the visuals and the things that we hear, like music,
Right.
like poems. Like we saw how, on the inauguration day,
Yeah.
right? President Biden, oh my God. Amanda
Yes.
Gomez, or I can't remember her last name right now.
Cool hood, right?
Yeah, I can look it up. But I mean, everyone who understands the English language just got goosebumps all over them.
Yeah.
It's just the power of words and the power of image. And now again, if we were to use her example, if she came out in front of the mirror and she's just a tad lacking in confidence, her body language, her tone of voice, and her basically her whole energy isn't a matter of I am here, I'm so blessed to have this opportunity to serve and act as an agent, a
Yes.
voice of humanity. I think at the time she said, I remember
Gorman. Yeah,
watching,
you were right. Her name is right. Yeah, Gorman. Yeah.
yeah, I remember watching her interviews. Of course, she was nervous. When we go on stage, right, even as a speaker, like
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
there is always that natural stress that
Yes.
is built in to our DNA
Yeah.
because it helps us focus. So I always tell my clients, what is your relationship with that stress
Okay.
or that discomfort? If you look at it as a setup, then it's no problem. You've been set up.
Wow.
All right, let's use this. Let's drive this puppy. But if we have a dysfunctional relationship, like in my case, I had a dysfunctional relationship with loss because I was only 10. I didn't have the tools,
Yes.
right? Or throughout my divorce, at the beginning, I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the skill set
Mm.
to interpret, to handle, and to transform
Yeah.
myself from the situation. Then I could have been, in another dimension looking down on you or whatever. So for that entire process, up to the age of 40, I just read like crazy.
Mm.
Things like The Power of Now, and I can go on and on with 1,000 books, non-stop TED Talks, and non-stop like things like Abraham Hicks, and then of course, you know how when the teacher is, when the student's ready, the
Yep.
teacher goes up. So like you were talking about in the introduction, I have a very high, what you call it, the inclination for adventure.
Right. Initiative. You're very high on taking initiative,
Yeah.
and trying something new, and putting yourself out there. Yes.
And I tease my kids. I said, well, that's ADHD for you. So ADHD is not such a bad thing if you can control it, right?
Right.
Uh, and I'm an adventure junkie in a way.
Mm.
So anything that's new, I'm like, what's that? Ooh, let's check it out. But of course, there's always that the typical mentality or our DNA would throw all the caution
Mm.
in the forefront. So again, we just have to develop the skill sets
Mm.
and a really positive sense of optimism uh, and that excitement
Right.
of using what you're given, your core genius,
Right.
to figure things out.
Right.
And again, why I have transformed from being an opera coach pianist
Mm.
um, to coming back to Hong Kong about 13 years ago,
Okay.
managing one of the most prestigious and biggest performing arts center for children,
Okay.
and having that process, seeing so many children and youth really displaying alarming emotional problems
Mm.
like severe social anxiety disorders, autoimmune diseases that are like way out of proportion,
Yeah.
uh, the severity and the age, ratio, and bullying, self-bullying, self-harming, and
Mm.
behavioral problems. It's like across the board. I
Right.
kept seeing year after year, what is going on? So in 2016, it's like I got hit by a rock, and this rock is called uh, severe depression, the pandemic of depression, all
Mm.
the way from self-harming to the very, very like the
Right.
worst. I don't want to throw the S word out, but I think we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, there's that huge voice in my head that says, no, actually, it's not in my head, my bad, in my gut. This gut
Okay.
voice, the
Okay.
voice from the gut, which has saved me so many times in my life.
Right.
So this says, Shirley, you've got to do something.
Mm.
Now, at the time, if uh, if I really want to be honest, I have two girlfriends in my life. One is actually a really dear friend of mine. I found out that they were suffering from domestic abuse.
All right. Okay.
But on the surface, they're socialites, they're highly intelligent, accomplished women. And I was like, what? Why? Again, why?
Mm.
Why would someone like me sink down to the bottom? Why would these intelligent women take the abuse? So
Yeah.
I started going, oh, goodness gracious. How do I make sure that more girls grow up knowing that they don't have to be there?
Right.
There is another way to think. There's another set of skills they can learn.
Right.
So really allow themselves to be all they are meant to be, to
Mm.
thrive beyond their dreams,
Right.
right? So that's how I, in the last 2 years, become a social emotional intelligence coach and a Jack Canfield Success Principles trainer.
Right.
So that's kind of my story.
I was actually going to ask you, can you share a few challenges? But I don't need to do that now because you shared all your challenges with me. Next question to you, Shirley, is, you know, of all of these challenges that you have actually faced, and you have so many takeaways, when you work with women, often you see that they are lacking in confidence because of all of these other issues that's going on in their lives. What would you say is, I mean, couple of things that people should focus on to build their confidence, to build their resilience?
I think one of the most important points they need to really remember
Hmm.
and start ingraining is that it's not just your nature. Confidence, of
Hmm.
course, by all means, is a part of it is our DNA because it has to
Yeah.
do with our hormonal makeup. For example,
Yeah.
myself, right? I was a very confident child because I have a fair amount of testosterone in my system. And that's why I was
Yeah.
such a tomboy, right?
No,
So,
really.
oh, oh yeah, absolutely. And so you see how sometimes some women have more face body hair,
Yeah.
testosterone. Some women are
Yeah.
just naturally so graceful, so soft spoken,
Yeah.
estrogen. Now, can you change that? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Hmm.
But remember nurture and nature, this, argument, right? Or
Right.
this across the board, if you read all the scientific researchers, all the medical researchers, nature is always, always much more influential in one's life than
Hmm.
nature. So
Right.
just because maybe a girl or a teenager or a woman thinks that she is not being bestowed with confidence at birth, that's just like, okay, let's get that done with. Now let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's get you practicing and learning all shapes and sizes and different forms of confidence and
Right.
start really building that on a
Right.
daily basis. For example, like you can't really see right now because I'm facing my little balcony with flowers all over
Okay. Okay.
because I'm an addict or a
Yeah.
fanatic with anything that has flowers and plants because the healing power of nature is
Right.
just free of charge, and
Right.
it's so profound in our system visually. What about doing something you're already good at? Everyone is good at something. I do not believe that there is a human being who isn't good at anything. I just don't
Right.
believe it, Okay, so just start with something that's simple. It
Mm-hmm.
may be just cooking for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It may be cracking your friends up. It may
Yeah.
be dressing well. It may be being a good friend listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, or like in my case, my flowers.
Mm-hmm.
We start every day and pick out the evidence of something that you are good at all the time. So
Right.
tell yourself in the mirror. In the Canfield training, we have a mirror exercise. Just acknowledge, say your name aloud, acknowledge what it is that you have done really well, that you enjoy, and it may even bring joy or purpose to
Yeah.
someone else. Acknowledge that. We call that celebrating a win. Every day you celebrate your wins. Now and then get out and start singing. Now, this get out means get out of your head and start singing, not go on the stage all of a sudden, right? Get out of your
Mm.
existing thought pattern, try something new, just a little bit. Every day you try a little bit of something new. Sing a song that inspires you, sing a song that cracks you up. And now, later, after a certain period of time, start singing it for your friends or start reciting a
Right.
poem, right? So things like that, or start maybe joining a group. Some
Mm.
people, a lot of people say, well, I have this fear for public speaking. I need to join the Toastmasters. Well, even in
Mm.
Toastmasters, you have to build your skills, right? So I think reading out loud, singing out loud, and dancing,
Right.
all these things are fun, easy, and almost
Mm.
free that you can do very
Yeah.
easily. So start owning your body, start feeling good in your body, and start using your voice, right?
Mm.
Now it can also be photography.
Yeah.
It can be anything, but I would encourage like any form of arts, of the
Right.
arts or art,
Mm.
because it's self-expression.
Right.
So confidence, I think, really comes from that. Step one is self-expression.
Right. Okay.
And another thing
Interesting.
is surround yourself with people who appreciate you.
I agree. I agree. I agree to both. And I really think this one is so powerful because often enough people don't do that, don't consciously do it. And often it may be family members. So, yeah, please go ahead. Surrounding yourself with family members. I mean,
Family
people who
members,
appreciate you.
friends, it can be mentors, it can, like in my case, 12 years of salvation, that whole really transformation, the most profound transformation in my life is really from the kids, working with kids for 12 years, because they're just so simple,
They're
they're so authentic,
right. Yeah.
just a little change in your expression, or they can feel whether you're genuinely caring for them or not.
Mm.
They know.
Yeah.
So if there aren't any adults, responsible adults in your life, that are who are very positive and optimistic and resilient and resourceful and spiritual, whatever it is that you need, you don't find that. First of all, ask yourself why.
Mm.
Be honest
Yeah.
and start changing it. Start changing it. And sometimes look at the little people. Maybe that source of support, like in my case, come from the little people.
Right. Right. So amazing. I think that was so valuable of you to share. Now, my next question to you is something that I've seen you do really well, which is you take initiative, you put yourself out there, you take up, look, you seek opportunities, you take on a lot of projects, even though it means it eats into your time, right? I mean, you are juggling so many things right now. So, actually, two questions. Number one, how do you manage your time? That's one. And the second would be, if other people want to start, what would be a good starting point, like to take on and look at opportunities? How can they start putting themselves out there?
One of the easiest, well, this is such a good question. One of the easiest things one can do in terms of getting oneself out there is
Yeah.
to join the right kind of communities. It
Mm.
can be on LinkedIn, follow the kind of groups or leaders that inspire you or challenge you,
Right.
kick you at the places that you need to be kicked.
Mhm.
Facebook groups, a lot of
Yes.
Facebook. For example, there is a really great group for authors and speakers.
Right.
on Facebook, or yeah, just look in your community and see if there are any meetups. Of course, right now that meetup will probably be virtual, but who
Yeah.
cares, right? First, so really just shift and give yourself the permission to say yes. Now, in our cafe training, there is one thing that is actually a couple of things I would like to share.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, big one, be clear why you're here.
Mm. Powerful.
I wake up every day. Actually, I like to start with the evening. I close my eyes every night after I watch a clip of comedy, because that's my ritual. That's what saved my entire soul, is starting to laugh. In my darkest days, I started a routine of always watching comedy before bedtime.
Mm.
So however that day went has gone. Doesn't matter, because the last moment I remember, I'm laughing. That is triumph.
Mm.
That is personal power,
Right.
a big emotional intelligence skill.
Yeah.
And so when I wake up, I say, why do I need to wake up? Because a lot of times you feel like, hey, the world doesn't really need me. No, the world does need you because you
Right.
need you.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, what really fuels your soul? What makes you like jump out of bed?
Mm.
The second thing is lean into it.
Okay.
Just ask and lean into it. We always feel like, particularly women, we were talking about the confidence code, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can show the book. I lean back. The
Mm.
confidence code. We have both read it or know the content, know the authors, and all the amazing points that were brought up in the book. Women really have a tendency, because again, because of our hormones, we have a tendency to over worry, over prepare,
Mm.
and undermine ourselves.
Mm.
Because in the book they say, they say that a man can be prepared 50% but act like they're prepared 150%.
Right.
They
Right.
ask for raises that they think they deserve, but women, no, we know what we deserve, but we take maybe 30% off,
Absolutely.
50% off,
Absolutely.
right? In my coaching, in my performing arts career, I've seen, particularly in the last 5 years, so many girls, they may be just awesome and vivacious and just brimming with life force
Mm.
before the age of 8. What happens once they enter school? P2, P3, P5, P6, all those school tests
Mm.
and expectations from both their families and from society, whatever it is, it's like a plant that goes, "Shoo," they start
Yeah.
to wither. So, another thing that I think is important is to really try to spend some time every day going to the websites or books of someone that is different from you, that you
Mm.
admire,
Right.
like Greta Thunberg, just for example's sake,
Yeah.
right? um, and just study her and point out the things that she has been doing that's different from you, and
Mm.
compare them. It's like looking at two merchandise, or two fruits. Okay,
Right.
I am an orange and this person is an avocado, or like a grape or a strawberry. Instead of comparing which one is better, no, it's just comparing the shapes and sizes and color.
Mm. Mm.
I am this color, but I've never entertained this other color.
Right.
What if I entertain this other color and
Yeah.
add that to my color?
Mm.
What kind of new fireworks would
Right.
evolve, come out of that? So go to different Facebook groups and also LinkedIn groups, and start writing,
Yeah.
start maybe blogging. And like you were saying, you started a podcast, right?
Right. I'm going to start one next month. Next
Ah, great.
month.
So you say, well, I don't know if I have anything to offer. You don't have to have anything to offer. Just throw your journey out there
Right.
authentically. Authentically. I don't have the courage. It's okay. Find a coach.
Yeah.
Oprah has a coach. Tony Robbins has a coach. Napoleon Hills, of all people, had a coach.
Yeah.
And what he did, he studied the most prominent achievers throughout, the last century.
Yeah.
Henry Ford, right? And people like Carnegie, he studied them.
Yeah.
So we can do the same thing. We
Right.
start small and don't judge the outcome. Just remember the process.
Yeah.
Ask why you want to do it and just hold on to that.
Right.
I deserve to thrive beyond my dreams.
Right. Awesome. So the second part of my question was, how do you manage your time? Any hacks?
Right now, I am making the decision of dividing the week into two halves. I
Okay.
don't I don't teach or coach every like work day. I devote the first 3 days of my week to just writing or putting out content or meeting people or learning.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the week, some part of it I would coach or I would do what I have to do to make my living,
Right.
to bring in the earnings. Yeah. So basically, that's the process. Now, of course, one can argue that either way, I'm kind of not giving full energy to it.
Mm.
But I am at, like you, I'm at a very beginning point of my
Right.
entrepreneurship.
Right.
Uh, of course, you have upscaled yourself like exponentially.
Right.
I'm still learning how to do that.
Right.
So, but I have to be gentle with myself.
Right. Yeah, and it can be step by step, and it can be like a process. Often, we think success can be overnight, or things can, the way we imagine success to be can be overnight, but there's no such thing. It's taken time, and there's taken effort. Before I let you go, any last words of pieces of advice to the women out here who are watching, that you would want to share among all of the value you've already given? Anything else that you would want to add?
I really want to bring home a point, and that is we have to remember what reality is. Reality is our experiences,
Mm,
lifelong experiences and
right.
circumstances. It's like a TV set, it frames you.
Mm,
And what you see is within that frame.
mm,
So that's not your reality. Your reality is way bigger,
yeah.
it's infinite.
Yeah.
But we all have like a frame,
Mm,
like a phone frame or whatever it is. So
yeah.
as long as we remember that, then today we experience this, it doesn't mean that tomorrow we repeat it.
Right.
Tomorrow can be a totally different reality. So how our lives or how our businesses or how our relationships turn out is really up to us to
Mm,
opening ourselves to learning new things.
right.
As a matter of fact, the Economic Forum has told us for years now, right, a couple of years, that in 2030, almost half of the entire global workforce has to reskill or upskill. So just look at it as a game
Yeah.
and go back to your inner child. Remember your 4 or 5 year old self. Every day is a new adventure. You see a toy, you don't go, oh my God. You don't feel anxious. You go, what is that?
Mm,
So I think this mindset is particularly important and vital for the next 10 years.
right. Wow. I really like the toy analogy. That's a great example. Thank you so much. You have, like, there's been so many nuggets that you have dropped in here. And also, how can people find you? How can people reach out to you? How can they get you to coach them, especially on confidence, resilience, all of these areas? Share with us and the audience, please.
The easiest thing is just to go on LinkedIn
Mm,
and look under Shirley Whing.
okay.
The Whing is spelled Whing. There is no other person on earth, as far as I know, has who has that name, because that's a name that is actually composed with a consultant of mine. But if you look under Shirley Whing, SHIRLEYWHING, you should be able to find me.
Right.
And also, I have a Facebook group. I love you to connect with me, all of you. It's
Mm,
called Ignite
oh,
Your Resilience.
okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop the links below as well so people watching can easily sign up. And Facebook group, I think I should join your Facebook group as well.
I would love, 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 love to have you as one of our inspiring members. And also, if you can see the
Yeah.
Hong Kong India Business Council, that is also on LinkedIn and also on Facebook.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Okay. I should make sure to join that as well. So, I mean, thank you so much for your time, for all of this information. And I look forward to having, if the audience has any questions, of course, they can reach out to you. But I
yes.
look forward to your journey and all the very best in everything that you do. So, thank you so much for being here today with me.
Thank you. You are a light in the world. Keep shining, and we will follow you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Okay. One second.
Bye. Have a great
Bye.
day.
See